Hello, my name is Kaitlyn Holcombe, and my thesis title is Attachment Style, Connecting the Personality Traits of Our Parents to How We See God. Before attachment theory, the theory of dependency assumed that bonds formed from the necessity of food as an infant and sex as an adult. But research has shown that, along with food and sex, emotional attachment bonds contribute greatly to our development, well-being, and even survival. Early bonds are developed in relation to the caretaker's availability, responsiveness, and protective qualities. Within these relationships, infants seek proximity to their caregivers and encourage responsiveness by crying, clinging, and following. They also use their caregivers as a secure base to explore the environment around them. The level of care given to us by our caregivers could be related to their personality traits, as some traits may facilitate the degree of availability and responsiveness a caregiver is able to provide. A secure attachment is the result of a responsive and available caregiver, while an insecure attachment results from a less nurturing environment. A securely attached individual will have a positive self-concept, seeing themselves as capable of navigating the world around them and as worthy of receiving help in times of distress or fearfulness. They look to their caregiver for guidance and are confident in the fact that they will receive it. They have a positive view of self and of others. Anxious or preoccupied attachment styles have not received comfort from their caregivers in past times of distress. This will thwart their basic trust and skew their perceptions of future cause and effect relationships between signals of distress and comfort. They will experience extreme anxiety and have a harder time regaining composure when separated from their caregivers. They have a negative view of self and a positive view of others. A dismissively avoidant child is raised similarly to the anxiously preoccupied child, but these children have developed self-reliance and tend to push away from the comfort of their caregivers. They have a positive view of self and a negative view of others. There is a fearful attachment style, but it is less common than the other three attachment styles. Research has shown that we carry our attachment styles with us into adulthood. They affect how we view ourselves and the people around us. This framework has been applied to the psychology of religion, with God as an attachment figure to religious individuals. There are two theories as to how our attachment styles influence relationships with the divine. One is the correspondence theory. This theory simply states that we transfer our attachment style to our attachment to God. If we have a secure attachment style, we will have a positive view of self and others, viewing God as good, loving, and supportive. If we are insecurely attached, we could transfer anxious or avoidant attachment styles to our relationship with God. In the case of insecure attachment, the compensation theory may also hold true. In this theory, an insecurely attached individual may look to God as an ideal attachment figure, an ideal caregiver that they never had. In this case, their attachment style is insecure, but their attachment to God is secure. How God relates to our attachment style affects conversions later in life, religious coping mechanisms, and well-being. We hypothesize that parents with high levels of neuroticism and low levels of extroversion, openness, conscientiousness, and agreeableness would produce children with insecure attachment styles, and through the correspondence pathway, they would have an insecure attachment to God. We partially replicated a study done by Rowett and Kirkpatrick in 2002, utilizing their attachment to God measures, as well as measures for many other variables, including view of God, religious orientation, doctrinal orthodoxy, affect, symbolic immortality, death anxiety, manifest anxiety, and personality. We created an extensive questionnaire using these variables, and when the participant got the personality portion, they were asked to report on their parent's personality, giving us the perceived personality scores of the participants' parents. Professors from other classes were asked to provide their students with these surveys, possibly offering extra credit for participation. We then used partial correlations and regression models to analyze our results. Participants with anxious adult attachment rated their parents as having low scores in extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness. They also rated their parents as having high levels of neuroticism. Participants with avoidant attachment rated their parents as having low levels of agreeableness. The literature and our hypothesis are supported by these results. Even while controlling for impression management, anxious attachment to God was predicted by low levels of parent extroversion. Avoidant attachment to God was not predicted by any perceived parent personality traits. This only marginally confirmed our hypothesis that, through the correspondence pathway, individuals with an insecure attachment to their parents will be insecurely attached to God. In order for their attachment to their parents to be insecure, we predicted that the perceived traits of the parents would be low in extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness, while also being high in neuroticism. The results found in this study could be explained rationally through the knowledge that an introverted parent might not participate in as many social functions, like gathering for religious activities, and therefore the child or the participant might not have been exposed to God on a regular basis. This could possibly lead to an insecure and anxious attachment to God. Through a correspondence theory lens, an introverted parent might be harder for a child to engage with, leading to an insecure attachment that later corresponds to their relationship with God. These are merely conjectures, and though these results show possible connections between divine attachment and parent personality traits, even more results were found while examining the participants' view of God and parent personality traits. Significant correlations were found between parent personality and how the participants viewed God, as either controlling or loving. Participants who saw God as loving scored their parents as having high levels of extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness. These participants also rated their parents as having low levels of neuroticism. Participants with a controlling image of God rated their parents as having low levels of extroversion, agreeableness, and conscientiousness, along with high scores of neuroticism. Controlling for impression management, high levels of parent neuroticism and low levels of parent extroversion were also found to predict a controlling image of God. These results also support the correspondence pathway, where parents having personality traits predicative of insecure attachment will produce children with a negative image of God. Post hoc explorations found other interesting results. Participants who rated their parents as having high levels of neuroticism also had high levels of manifest anxiety. Participants who rated their parents as having high levels of conscientiousness had high levels of positive affect. Participants with high levels of negative affect rated their parents as having low levels of extroversion, agreeableness, and openness. These correlations might just be giving us a peek into how nature is shaped by nurture, where attachment and internal working models are shaped by experiences and the behaviors and traits of caregivers. When religion has become much less important to the participant over the years, parent conscientiousness is low, avoidant and anxious attachment to God is high, a controlling image of God is high, and a loving image of God and positive affect are low. These findings further support existing literature about religious change and attachment. If someone is insecurely attached, then they are more likely to deviate from their parents' beliefs and will be attached to God in the same insecure way they are attached to their parents. Our study also found that extrinsic religiousness predicts anxious attachment to God. Based on the nature of extrinsic religiousness, one can see conceptually how a person who participates in religion for outward reasons might then also be anxiously attached to the divine. Low levels of intrinsic religiousness, low levels of orthodoxy, and religion becoming less important over the years all predict avoidant attachment to God as well. We conducted this study to see if the personality traits of parents had an influence on participants' religious beliefs and divine attachment. We found that, though strong correlations were found between participants' image of God, adult attachment, and parent personality, only the parent personality trait of extroversion could predict insecure attachment to God. Our post hoc explorations further supported our hypothesis. Parent personality has an influence on and strongly correlates with adult attachment and, furthermore, other aspects of religiosity, religious change, anxiety, and affect. Further research should be done in this area. It is clear how influential attachment can be for future relationships, and parent personality notably plays a role in shaping attachment styles. There are other ways to measure these relationships, and we believe it's worth looking into. The compensation pathway suggests that people with insecure attachments attach to God in a secure way, as an ideal caregiver. Our model did not account for this, and we only focused on the correspondence pathway. We also used a measure that only recorded anxious and avoidant attachment to God. Looking back, having scores on secure attachments to God and seeing the resulting correlations and regressions would have been interesting. A bigger sample size could always be needed as well, and studies done on a more diverse sample, as ours was mostly Western and Christian. This would all be helpful. As always, self-reported nature of the questionnaires leaves a certain amount of bias, and we collected the participants' perceived parent personality. A study done collecting the parent's actual personality might be more helpful in testing this hypothesis. We also realized that religiosity and attachment are complex, and we do not expect one to directly affect the other. There are many variables that go into shaping who people are. Attachment and the personalities of our parents are only one piece of the puzzle. In closing, I would like to thank my fiance, my family, and friends, all of whom have supported me during the past 4 years. I would also like to especially thank my mentor, Dr. Nielsen, for all the help and guidance he has provided me. I truly could not have done this project without him, and I deeply appreciate all the time and effort he has contributed towards my success in the honors program. Thank you.